Hey guys, Al here, Vitalize Seed. Hope everybody's having a good day. Today's video, I wanted to talk about CEC. What is it? What does it mean? This time of year, looking at a lot of soil tests, seeing a lot of posts in farm groups and agricultural groups and garden groups and food plot groups saying, hey, here's my soil test. What the heck does it mean? And it's so funny because there's so many recommendations given, but very rarely do we focus on or do the recommendations focus on CEC? And I think it's one of the most important things to focus on so we understand kind of what we're dealing with. And then we can have a better understanding as to what fertilizer and or what amendments and or what lime sources are we putting down and how is that going to positively or negatively impact the rest of the things that are on the soil colloid. So first off, what is CEC? A really easy way to explain it is it makes up your soil type. So really high CEC is going to be really heavy clay, almost humus based. Heavy muck soils, for example, and typically a higher CEC is correlated with a higher percent of organic matter. But as I've talked about in other areas, there is kind of a point of diminishing returns there because eventually if you get into really, really heavy muck soils, they can have 40 and 50 and 60 CEC, really high organic matter, 15, 20, 25, 30% organic matter. But you're going to really struggle to get things to grow there unless you have the availability for tile and things of that nature. Not always, but that's kind of a generalization. On the other hand, low CECs are sometimes thought of as, oh, these are very poor soils. They have lower organic matter levels. And that's typically is true. CEC stands for cation exchange capacity. And what that is your ability for your soil to hold cations. And what is a cation? It's a positively charged ion. So your hydrogen, your calcium, and your magnesium, and so on. As you can see in the chart behind me, some charges are 2 positives and some are only 1. Calcium is going to push hydrogen off. That's why when you add high calcium lime, calcium sticks to the soil colloid, hydrogen is now free floating. The carbonate element of that calcium carbonate limestone helps to neutralize the pH, creating carbon dioxide in water. Just a quick example, dolomitic limestone does the same thing because magnesium, Mg, is a 2 positive charge. So as we continue to look at these two graphs, you can think of CEC in obviously lower CEC is a lighter soil, higher CEC is a heavier soil, and it will allow us to understand what type of soil we're dealing with and how we can make our planning and fertility specific to that soil type and crop type. So for example, if you're growing corn and you're trying to grow 180 or 150 or 160 bushel per acre corn in low CEC soil, you're probably not going to put all your nitrogen down at time of planting. Well, why? Well, because you have a low CEC soil, you're going to have a higher likelihood for that soil to leach that nitrogen out. You're not going to have that holding capacity. Likewise, you're probably not going to have to put as much limestone down because you're not going to have as high of a buffering capacity as it's called, but basically you're not going to need as much limestone to alter that pH. Why? Well, because you have lower CEC, you have less hydrogen to push off the soil colloid, so you simply are able to change that faster. So with that being said, it's really cool from a structural perspective. In a lighter soil, you're able to make some changes relatively faster than you could in a heavier soil. Well, what are some benefits of the heavier soil? Again, typically higher organic matter. You're able to hold more nutrients. You have higher water holding capacity. So when you get those mid-textured, mid-textured CEC soils, let's say 11 to 20, 25, you really kind of hit that sweet spot, in my opinion, where it makes up for some mistakes, let's say, versus when it's a little bit lower or really high CEC and you have some more difficulties. But all is not lost. So if you have a light soil, we simply want to work to maximize biology in that soil by using cover crops, reducing disturbance. We want to focus on fungal domination with mycorrhizal fungi so we can create clomiline to hold that structure together from a biological perspective. We also want to make sure that we're using magnesium-based limestones in most cases so that we pull that soil tighter from the chemical perspective. And as we do these things, as we work towards it, we can make better recommendations for, hey, do we need to foliar apply something? to our crops? Do we need to use a fungal inoculant? Do we want to use some additional fertility right on the seed or in furrow if it's in an ag setting, etc.? So hopefully you guys found that interesting, and that gives you a little bit more of a perspective as to what is CEC. So it's very important, guys, and please make sure that if you get a soil test, we like Ward Labs at Vitalize Seed, but if you do go out there and get a soil test, I'm always a big proponent of getting nitrate and micros and organic matter and base saturations, but at a minimum, make sure they're including CEC so we at least know what type of soil you're dealing with, and it's a way to quantify that data with a simple number that tells us what exactly that cation exchange capacity is. And by using good soil sampling procedures, you shouldn't see that fluctuate greatly from one year to the next. So that's another good baseline for CEC is, from year 1, 2, 3, 4, you should see it stay relatively similar. And it also helps to make sure that your sampling procedures are accurate. So hopefully you all found that interesting. If you like this stuff, please share, subscribe, and follow along. And check us out at vitalizeseed.com.